We could be holding up our light. We could be fighting for what's right. Or we could be falling to pieces. Under the bridge of fire burns, somewhere the pages start to turn, and somebody whispers, I need this. I will do anything just to make you see. Don't apologize for what's in your dreams. Maybe this time will be different. It's only us. It's only us. It's only us tonight.
8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit, 64-bit!
Wow! That was
Yeah, last video's reception was pee-pee-poo-poo garbage. I mean, at least it got likes on Tumblr. So I'm making a video about how some 32/64-bit titles have aged well visually. Yes, those consoles' graphics are known to look special, since these are early 3D graphics. They often tried replicating real life, but in video games. So of course, due to the limited technology, games from this era often look like this. The PlayStation, Saturn, Nintendo 64 era tried to push 3D a lot, so it felt noticeable as part of the gen of consoles. The Nintendo DS was about as powerful as these systems, yet did not need to push 3D, so plenty of games decided to go the 2D route. Good for them. While I do not always appreciate these older graphics, quite a few of them have aged well, especially since they use the limitations as an art style. What kind of titles impressed me? Oh god, But first, mainstream titles. I'd say quite a few of Rare's later Nintendo 64 games, like Donkey Kong 64 but mostly Conquer, look great, incorporating the expansion pack to create even prettier graphics, so it probably counts. That's not too interesting though, as the character designs are worked around to fit the Nintendo 64's limits. What if the designs were built around the limitations of the console instead of the opposite? If you look at Super Mario 64's artwork and the in-game models, you can see quite a bit of that difference between them. Same for Zelda or even Banjo-Kazooie. Goemon games for the Nintendo 64 though look like the games they're advertising. It's great! Goemon's character designs were already cutesy enough during the Super Famicom era, so Goemon games on Nintendo 64 felt like a natural evolution of the franchise. Rounder hands, rounder heads, etc. All based on polygons, so playing this franchise on the Nintendo 64 works a lot better than, let's say, Castlevania. I'm sure I'd enjoy the Nintendo 64 titles of Castlevania as an adult, but I don't have the highest expectations style-wise. Castlevania is probably closer to Ocarina of Time / Majora's Mask in terms of how it has aged. I enjoy Zelda's 64's iterations graphics, but the 3DS versions felt a lot more natural thanks to the more advanced graphics. The Zelda 64 tech demo had a less elaborated, more simpler style for Link, just like Goemon. So Mystical Ninja starring Goemon plays like the Zelda 64 we never got. Its expensive fields, NPCs, enemies, enemies, etc. don't feel out of place in our modern gaming landscape. It's just that the lack of a few features that make this one not so timeless when it comes to gameplay. No real lock-ons aside from one weapon. That's not the best thing for a 3D Zelda game. The thing though is that it came out before Ocarina of Time, so I'm sure it felt more revolutionary at the time. Graphically, the title still looks timeless. If you ask me though, I think Goemon's Great Adventure has aged better despite sharing the same graphics. It's a 2.5D platformer that can be played in co-op. Aside from a few side quests, the game mostly works in shorter, more action-packed bursts. Instead of worrying about a big camera using a world that needs to be packed with details, you just play a cool platformer where you go from left to right or accomplish side quests. Simple, nice, fun. I definitely prefer this experience when it comes to gameplay. Kirby 64 also mirrors the same experience as the Goemon games on Nintendo 64, aside from that one with the party.
If it hadn't been for you, I would be now in someone else's digestion.
But it uses the 3D environments a lot more, kinda like Klonoa. I love the way the character designs look simple enough to fit the Nintendo 64, yet the expressions of the Kirby gang makes the game feel more alive than most titles from that generation. The simplicity of the cutscenes also help create a bit more freedom of what the Kirby gang can do, say, etc. While the darkness can look out of place compared to most other designs in the game, that's the point. Using the cuteness of everybody else just to have these balls of darkness pop up. It is so perfect, to the point where it even scared the ESRB to the blood being slightly shown later in the Nintendo Switch Online re-release. At first it was rated E, like Mega Man 64, or just Mega Man Legends on PS1.
There's some dirty magazines on the racks. It might be fun to look at. Mega Man's looking at.
Quick intermission before we leave for the PS1 era. I think that Mother 3 on Nintendo 64 looks kinda fine, with most of its models having a very interesting style, despite the theme never having worked in 3D. So if it was released on the Nintendo 64, it would have been fine looking and would have aged well. So well in fact that some people made some fan recreation of possible cutscenes in the game. Either way, quick intermission over. Apparently, Mega Man Legends is considered one of the first cel-shaded games, and it shows. These characters may look polygonal, but my god, these faces, these very expressive, gorgeous faces, they fit every scene, adapting to wherever the story goes. I'd say the slightly goofy writing, despite lore drops later on, really helps establish the tone of the title. I love it. I'd say Mega Man Legends gameplay has not aged too well. The lock-on does not work well, turning the combat into a bit of a chore. I still prefer its exploration-focused aspect to destroying everything to get money in the sequel. I'd at least recommend the cutscenes. I love them. Fear Effect does the same thing with the Resi-like gameplay, although you can see the devs spent a lot of time on the cel shading, because dang, this is for PS1? Gorgeous. It feels straight out of a French comic book. No, a French comic book that takes itself seriously. It works so well even on PS1. The graphics got even more advanced in the sequel, which I haven't bought it though. So, another game that used the console to its full potential has to be the Japan exclusive Slap Happy Rhythm Busters! The models of the fighters almost look like something on Dreamcast, while the 2D backgrounds don't move at all. We still get some swooshy camera angles combined with anime lines, which makes every 5 seconds of this thing stylish, using the limits of the PS1 to its advantage. The cel shading of Jet Set Radio can be polygonal, yet still feels timeless. The same can be said for this entire video game. No wonder this was developed by Polygon Magic, who worked on Incredible Crisis, El Shaddai, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. What? No, seriously, that's like if I told you that Squaresoft made 2 shoot-em-ups on PS1. Granted, people know about Einhander, a cult classic for the console that is still brought up today. However, IS, internal section, exists, staying in Japan for some reason. Its gameplay consists of shooting stuff in a surreal world to the beat of the music or something, I don't know. Just look at the pretty colors using futuristic vibes. Despite the simplicity of the shapes, this title has many similarities with Red for the Dreamcast. Yes, this game is for the inferior PlayStation 1, but the limited art style helps it age better than a lot of other shooters for the console. I still love Shooter Space Shot. Internal section could pass off as an indie title in a Nintendo Direct. You know, the ones Nintendo fans would get mad since it takes a slot for Zelda, Mario, or a recognizable brand from my childhood. My childhood is better than yours! On the other end, Vibri has aged well. Sure, she might be a bunch of vectors, similar to the Star Wars arcade game, but she has so much personality, and the screams she makes whenever she gets hurt are more painful to listen to, I don't know, Sonic Chronicles OST? Although I blame myself for these noises more than anything else. Never mind, some of these levels are hard! That's all about what I can think of for PS1 games. Did I forget something? Sega Sanshiro, Sega Saturn Shiro. Yes, the Sega Saturn existed, Sega M2's arcade titles, because I may not support cups, but Virtua Cop's another story. These colorful environments, these reticles, the cool yet cubicle models. It all works pretty well despite how old the Sega Saturn is. Wow, I wonder if other Sega M2 arcade games exist that are as cool as this one. Gunblade New York is an alternate universe fanfiction of Final Fantasy VIII that takes place in New York. Will Selfie take Nah. It's an hella cool light gun shooter with a camera that keeps swinging as you shoot down everything in these very evacuated locations. You don't even shoot people, you shoot robots trying to look like people. Hence why the cubicle way these models are designed feel more natural than in the House of the Dead. I'm not sure if it was intentional at all though. My interpretation still makes the title age well in my opinion. Another Sega Model 2 game that I think aged like wine is Sonic the Fighters. Sonic the Fighters has no standard. It knows it's a game trying to look silly, so the characters go all out in their expressions with some of the stupidest movesets I've ever seen in a fighting game. I'd even say they look better than Sonic Riders, in my opinion. Up off my goat! Everyone is alive and well with so many poses, camera angles, and smooth action. Early 3D cartoons wish they looked like this. Sorry, Jimmy. Tink, tink, tink! Brain blast! It's also one of those cases where the fighters look like plastic and can bounce off any surface. The plasticky feel is unique to this fighter, even compared to Tekken's juggling mechanics. I love Sonic the Fighters, almost as much as the Nintendo DS. Look, I enjoy the console, I'd even say it's my favorite of all time, but some of these titles look a bit more detailed than your Nintendo 64 game, which is both a good yet bad thing in my opinion, as having too many details on the 64/32-bit models is There's a reason why Final Fantasy VIII got remastered since. Oh well, most of them like Bakugan are fine, but they show their age. Not every single one can be like the Rob Rabbit's duology. These titles use a very minimalistic presentation by not having any facial expressions nor anything that's not related to clothing. On its own, it looks cool, stylish even. It's just the absurdity of everything coupled with the goofy animations. It's so dang funny seeing these people waggle about every 15 seconds while the random song keeps playing on and on. Summarizing these stories would be almost impossible. So much is happening that even the comic book style cutscenes are overwhelming. Obviously, the Rub Rabbits has slightly more elaborated graphics, but both of these titles haven't aged at all. Kind of like Rez, of course. I love how interesting it looks, especially since it's 64 bits. Yes, the game feels horny sometimes. It's just that this is an absurd romantic comedy. Of course it's going to be slightly horny. It's just not something a Western gamer bro would play. So these titles sort of fell off the radar. My opinion? I want to see a gay version of this, as the camp aspect fits very well with the drag queen / kings or just the LGBTQ culture in general. I think these games look gorgeous and their art style needs to be acknowledged more. Also, Phantom Thief Remastered. Think about it, Sega. I also appreciate Away Shuffle Dungeon. The 3D segments also age well, looking slightly like Animal Crossing. Okay, let me explain. Animal Crossing was known at first as Animal Forest on the Nintendo 64. The art style encapsulates coziness while also providing a variety of characters in a simpler style. This style barely looks any different on GameCube, aside from higher definition graphics. If YouTube would have existed earlier, a Nintendo YouTuber probably would have made a video on it at launch. They'd probably call it a lazy port or a scam or something. It took 4 games for the art style to change, and even the villager in Super Smash Bros. Retains these polygons, since I think it is timeless. Quite a few games' art style got inspired by it, so Shuffle Dungeon is off to the dungeon crawler, while the other half is about interacting with these villagers, rebuilding the city piece by piece. These models feel right at home for the Nintendo DS, detailed enough to charm me, yet able to do quite a few elaborated animations. Yeah, the trees and houses look like Animal Crossing though. The other 2D half of the gameplay is simplistic but fun enough. I enjoyed the way Away Shuffle Dungeon has aged. I also enjoyed when I could find $10 physical games, such as this one as well as Flower, Sun and Rain. This game is a remake of a PS2 software by Suda51.
テロリストから島を救え赤道直下ワンデイミステリー
Despite the graphical downgrade from the PS2, this is still one of the most gorgeous Nintendo DS games, all thanks to its style, camera angles, colors, etc. The music also helps a lot. The game reflects Suda's iconic style in 64-bit form, to the point where I think it aged like fine wine. Show anyone some gameplay of this one and they'll be like, smooth. I'd say the review scores are mostly due to the very basic gameplay, which, yeah, go get a walkthrough or something. I ain't good at math, but this game is about a ton of math. Ugh. At least it lets me save whenever I want, and has a pink crocodile. Don't expect anyone to like the title as much as me. Never mind. Although I'm not too sure user reviews on Metacritic matter that much, since you can literally not play the game yet make a random 10 or 0 review. If you want something other than talking to people, I'd say Pray the Stars has gorgeous character models due to the very small arenas, but I haven't played it. 2 last titles, both on DSiWare, both unplayable legally. It's a shame since Pop Island paper field uses the limitations of the DS to make these cute cubicle characters I would not mind seeing as plushies. Even the environments full of cutesy stands works so well using this style. This one could easily be released for modern consoles using little to no changes aside from the lack of a second screen. Heck, make it online and it would be up there with Fortnite, probably. Also, I did not include the GameCube exclusive Cubivore since it's on the GameCube, not on the Nintendo 64. The art style makes good use of the limits, blah blah blah, but now it's GameCube, so it's high definition blah. Now for the final game. X was a Game Boy exclusive 3D FPS ambitiously designed by a bunch of people, including Dylan Cuthbert. It's a revolutionary achievement. Also, the guy worked on Star Fox. Dylan later founded Q Games in Japan and nobody batted an eye. After making more Starfax video games, Q Games decided to make a sequel to X-Scape. Although it is a first-person shooter, its unconventional control schemes would probably turn off many players, hence why I would call this my favorite first-person shooter ever. The story works very well even with the limited amount of characters that all look stylish, even the eyeball. The very minimalistic details of the enemies work so well with the variation of color schemes that is unique to each zone. It feels like a perfect successor to the original to use this many colors rather than to stick with the Game Boy's black and white color scheme. The obstacles, sensation of speed, buildings, menus, etc. all feel timeless to me, hence why I think this title aged well. If it was ever remastered someday using more conventional controls, I think it would be a much bigger hit, especially due to that style. Anyways, that's all for early 3D games I think that they've aged well. The moral of the story, if you challenge gaming's often popular notions, you may find some interesting things. Thank you for watching, please like and subscribe, and bye!